Tatsumaki has been front and center these last few arcs in One Punch Man, whether that's on the covers of each chapter or fighting one of the strongest characters in the manga's history. She is clearly a character destined for bigger things as her story progresses. Obviously, as time goes on, readers and viewers alike will question just how strong is Tatsumaki. To figure this out, I'll go through feats from both the anime and the manga to give you guys an answer to the question about the Tornado of Terror. During her introduction in the anime, Tatsumaki is given an anime-only scene where she encounters a large dinosaur-like creature from the Lizard Clan. This monster dwarfed Tatsumaki immensely and shrugged off multiple missiles from fighter jets sent to weaken and distract it to no avail. After belittling the creature, Tatsumaki pulls a meteor directly from orbit in space, turning the beast into bones and leaving only a crater where it stood. Already this early in the series, we are seeing Tatsumaki is scaling to a multi-city level threat, both due to the range and strength of her telekinesis, which is her primary fighting style. Tatsumaki also does this with ease, meaning that this isn't a limit or baseline for her strength, and we'll see that more going forward. The next time we see Tatsumaki is during the attack on Earth by Lord Boros and his ship. Boros' ship can output enough explosive yield strong enough to level all of a city. To give you some quick numbers, each shell has an output of 0.73 gigatons of TNT, which is enough to level a mountain. With 33 shells per bombardment, Boros' ship is scaled to be strong enough to wipe out an island with ease. Keep in mind, in the One Punch Man universe, cities are not the same as they would be in ours. The One Punch Man universe is made up of one supercontinent that features many cities, which are more so small countries in scale, although this is still debatable among the community. Regardless of this, Tatsumaki caught the second attempted attack by Boros' ship and flung the shells back without exerting any effort. This shows not only her range and precision, but the vast control she has over things she takes control of. We will see more of this later, like during the monster uprising, where she crushes a giant octopus monster that was destroying multiple city blocks with its mere size. Tatsumaki uses only the force of her telekinesis to compress the creature into a small ball of flesh, yet again not showing any loss of power or stamina drain from this feat. On top of these showings, Tatsumaki has barriers whose strength is currently above that of all defenses we've seen in the series, excluding Saitama himself and maybe some other monster cadres in the Monster Association. First time we see this is when it is used to deflect two buildings thrown at her and the attack force with a barrier. She then proceeds to absolutely obliterate an Esper monster and turn him into literal dust before proceeding to her greatest opponent, who pushes all her powers to the extreme. Psychos, a dragon level threat and the second boss of the Monster Association, is completely embarrassed by Tatsumaki by all standards during her initial introduction. Tatsumaki casually escapes all her attacks, injures her through her barrier, and is completely unaffected by a 300 times gravity attack inflicted by Psychos, making a Saitama-esque reaction to the attack. To give some perspective, King Kai's planet in DBZ is 10 times the gravity of Earth, and the highest gravity setting in Goku's spaceship when heading to Namek is 100 times, which nearly killed him at that point in time. No attack thus far from Psychos is effective on Tatsumaki due to her battle IQ, counterattacks, and barriers surpassing that of Psychos at the time. She's even able to locate Psychos' real body from 1,500 meters away and just yeet her from underground to confront her directly. Even at her full power, Psycho's psychic energy is not nearly enough to defeat Tatsumaki, and she completely fails and loses in that regard. At this point, you may be wondering, okay, this has to be Tatsumaki's peak. She's defeating dragon level threats, who are threats you typically to cities or a city on their own. But no, it doesn't end there. The real crazy feats begin when Psychos fuses with the remains of the Monster King Orochi. Orochi is a monster who had the power to destroy the Earth with his special attack, the Gaia Cannon, but was luckily stopped by Saitama. We know this attack could destroy the Earth due to both the side effects of using it, as well as it pulling energy directly from the core of the Earth and exerting it on its target. Orochi alone was casually countered by Tatsumaki using her powers, although at this point in time he was in a weakened state. She was able to redirect his attacks and defend with barriers, but combined with Psycho's power and some divine intervention from God, Psychos becomes an immense threat. Her first attack entraps Tatsumaki inside a barrier that basically inflicts her own psychic energy combined with Psychos upon herself. You would think after this Tatsumaki would have to be drained after surviving this onslaught. She's taken an attack filled with her own power, plus that of a being with unquantifiable potential and strength. But we're instantly shown Tatsumaki is a monster in her own right. After breaking free, she's able to rip the entire Monster Association from out of the Earth while trying to save the other heroes. Keep in mind, we stated before, each city is the size of a country, and she's completely ripping out an entire association from under it, destroying multiple parts of the city in the process. She then goes on to completely tank an attack from Psychorochi, which is the fusion of Psychos and Orochi, that slices off an entire portion of the planet. Psychorochi then spams these attacks, which Tatsumaki casually dodges, before tossing debris so large at Psychorochi that she had no choice but to counter it head on. All of this is done while still using her powers to save and shield other heroes from the ongoing attacks and the fight. Despite all the severe injuries and the energy she consumes during this fight, Tatsumaki is still able to completely tank attacks from Psychorochi with her barriers, even swatting some of them away when she's angered enough or able to focus a little. These are the same attacks that were splitting off continent-sized portions of the planet. Speaking of focusing and being angry, she can tap into even more power when Psychorochi angers her regarding her sister. While severely injured and slipping in and out of consciousness, Tatsumaki can completely twist an entire country-sized city with her power. Keep in mind, at this point, she's still holding back because she wants to preserve as much infrastructure as possible, as well as not harm any of the other heroes that are remaining on the ground. On top of this, as I stated before, she's fading in and out of consciousness while doing these feats. Tatsumaki then performs her last great feat to date, ripping the entire monster association from out of the earth completely this time, and then converting it into an energy spear, driving it into the dying Psychorochi and ending the fight completely. I think the best way to see how strong this attack is to compare it by looking at this panel. The horizon compared to the spear itself is just massive. It's a massive attack on a large scale, and it's done by someone who's basically knocking on death's door at this point, and who you would think would have exhausted most of her power and energy. I keep emphasizing that Tatsumaki is injured and holding back because it's important to realize, despite the massive scope of these attacks, we still haven't seen her go all out. According to Writer 1, Tatsumaki at full strength can take out the third strongest monster we've seen, Golden S, who multiple S-class heroes had no chance of beating in their peak even after power-ups. To put things simply, Tatsumaki is a character who deserves more props than she gets. As of right now, she's one of the strongest characters we've seen out of Saitama, Boros, and Garo. From constraining, twisting, contorting, and destroying her opponents, her versatility in attack and defense are something to be afraid of, and at full strength, who knows what she could do.